much too complex, too complex, much too complex, too complex, too complex, too complex.
Good afternoon. My name is James K. Holder II. Some of you may know me as Sir James II if you follow me on Twitter. And welcome to Not on My Watch. This show, the genesis of which started from the 2016 election result that we all witnessed in the United States on November 9th, 2016, where Donald J. Trump defeated Hillary Clinton to become the 45th president of the United States. If you're watching this, it is January 20th, 2016, Inauguration Day. And this country is saying goodbye to President Barack Hussein Obama and welcoming in Donald J. Trump as the 45th president of the United States. So what we're going to do here is resist. There is a culture that is consuming the United States. One that wants us to succumb to fear, wants us to succumb to discrimination, wants us to be worried and burdened by hatred, bigotry, racism, homophobia, fat phobia, Islamophobia, ableism. And we are here to say, not on my watch. The resistance movement is one that is still pretty new. People are getting their heads around the idea of defending themselves from an incoming administration, and there will be plenty to defend from. So this can kind of be sort of a dashboard. Many people, including myself, have sort of decided to step a little bit away from traditional media sources. This is not a news outlet. This is not necessarily a talk show. What I aspire to do here is simply provide a point of view that's welcoming to everybody. I want to offer everybody a seat at this table as long as you choose to sit at this table. Now, if you come to this table, you're going to have to act like you got some sense. We do not tolerate name calling. If you name call me, I will name call you back. I am a very direct person. I am not very shy about using my words. Sometimes you will catch me using choice words. Sometimes I could be the nicest person you ever met, though. It really just depends on what the situation is. So we will do a combination of things, analyzing the news, analyzing social climate around topics. What are people talking about? What are people saying on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter? And we will sort of try to digest that into a 30-minute format, something that you can use as a break, a couple times a week to take maybe your anxiety away. And that is the goal with what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate, trying to reduce fear. We're trying to provide information so that people learn what we're talking about when we really discuss racism. We want to set what that nomenclature is, so that people have a better understanding and can really meet on a common ground moving forward, because we're definitely going to need that. So now that the introductions are out of the way, there'll be plenty of time for you to find out who I am. I will tell you as we go along. And many of you have known, what I do for some time. I'm not really new to this. This format is particularly new, and it's because of exigent circumstances. The first thing I want to do is reiterate that my platform is one that is progressive. My definition of progressive is being able to move forward as a body where everybody does have a seat at the table, where everybody is welcome, everybody's voice is appreciated, everybody's contribution is understood and accepted. And in order to do that, we have to be honest about barriers to that in our society. We have to be very honest about sexism, misogyny. We have to be honest about reducing the quality of people's voice, the quality of people's work, the value of people's time because of who they are, where they were born, who they choose to love, what type of food they choose to eat. We have to get beyond that if we're going to work together and really build a country that is accepting and open and everybody's value is understood. So I have a couple of bullet points here. I'm still a little new to this, so forgive me. I might look at my phone. I might look at these notes. I might glance over here at the clock on the wall to make sure that I'm keeping within my time parameter. So bear with me. I want to start by accepting the fact that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States of America. There were multiple checks and balances in place that could have forestalled this reality for us, despite the election results, the Electoral College results, the ratification by the Electoral College in December, any hearings, any investigations that are currently underway. Those things have not proven to be fruitful as of yet. And so one reality, there's a hashtag, not my president. The United States will always be my country. I was born here. I live here. I work here. I enjoy being an American. That is my identity. I do have to accept that Donald Trump is the president of the United States. What that means he can expect from me, I don't know, other than being a boss. Because as president, he works for us. And we need to keep that in mind. And he needs to keep that in mind. And we must hold him accountable to the task every single day. And that, to me, sums up the resistance movement. There's a couple things I do want to do first. First order of business. This is not just a welcoming of the new incoming president. This is a bidding adieu to our excellent 44th president of the United States, Barack Obama. Barack Obama's presidency was incredibly inspiring to me. I worked on his campaign. I volunteered. I had never been to that point so inspired by anything or any person. And I want to say a profound thank you to this man and his family for what they have endured for the last really 10 years in going up to becoming president and 8 years serving as our president. He did it masterfully. Michelle Obama is a national treasure, and so are Sasha and Malia, and also Bo, their dog. And honestly, I never learned the name of the other dog. Maybe Sunny. That's what it is. Bo and Sunny. I want to thank all of you, the Obama family, Mama Robinson, who was the grandmother who stayed in the first F-GOTUS. She was really F-GOTUS, first grandmother of the United States. And I want to commend her as well, because they all worked together and did a masterful job at leading this country and elevating the culture, elevating the dialogue, taking us to somewhere better. And I hope that we can use their example and really learn and grow from it. With that said, I have an exhaustive list of accomplishments that we should actually specifically thank Barack Obama for. And this is not a complete list, but we have a tendency as a people, as Americans, to be sort of have a short-term memory. We're really, what have you done for me lately? And so over the last 8 years, I just kind of want to highlight some of the key accomplishments of this administration led by Barack Obama. First of all, we know that we entered that presidency. We entered 2008 with the Bush depression. Let's not mince words here. That was a cataclysmic economic event, and it really could have been the death of all of us. Many people lost their homes. Many people lost their jobs. And Barack Obama worked tirelessly to pull us back from that reality. He restored the American economy better than what it was. A couple of metrics here. He had the longest streak of job growth on record for any president in this country. 11 million new jobs. The Affordable Care Act, which also contributed to more jobs, did a number of things. One, it made it illegal for insurance companies to deny you based on a pre-existing condition. That is crucial. That is an amazing feat because, as we know, insurance companies are really good at denying culpability. They're really good at absolving themselves of responsibility for paying claims, and pre-existing conditions was one thing that they used to get out of paying for people's medical needs. And so now that people cannot be denied because of pre-existing conditions, if you find out that you're pregnant, you can get coverage and you can have that taken care of. If you find out that you have cancer, you can receive the medication and the treatment and the scanning that you need. And they cannot cap what that insurance company has to pay out on your plan. You have a max contribution on your end, and once you meet that contribution, as long as you continue to pay your premiums, that company has to continue to pay for your care no matter what it goes to up until the end of the year. So that is something to be very grateful. Whether you are sick or whether you are not, everyone knows somebody who is dealing with cancer, dealing with a terminal illness, dealing with even a short-term condition, dealing with mental conditions. These are things that we need to be grateful for and be thankful for, and work towards making sure that our new employee, Donald Trump, is going to uphold for us. He reduced the deficit by $800 billion, nearly tripled the stock market. That's important. Saved the American auto industry. That was a very controversial move. Many people on the progressive left are still holding him to task because of that decision. But that's something that we really need to be thankful for, because our ability to compete in the global market, despite automation, despite all these other things, really defines America as a culture, as an economic powerhouse. If we can't keep our major industries going afloat, then what do we have? Domestic energy production all-time high. So this administration reduced our dependence on foreign energy. That being renewable and non-renewable sources of energy, which also contribute to a safer climate, in the sense that we are less prone to terror, we are less tied to the demands of the global demands of energy, be that oil or other non-renewable sources of energy, so that we are not sort of a whipping boy for what's going on in the Middle East or OPEC or whoever. We have our own source, and that is a good thing. Obviously, we need to be moving towards more renewable sources of energy, whether that be solar, wind, but that's a process. That doesn't happen overnight. The highest high school graduation rate on record. That's something to be thankful for. Pell Grant, double the amount of Pell Grants offered to students in this country. New Consumer Financial Protections Bureau, that is obviously a good thing. The Iran nuclear deal, again, a controversial move, but that is something that has proven to work. There have been a number of things that have come up that let you know that plan is in place and is working. Osama bin Laden was killed, ain't nobody mad about that. And marriage equality, which is something that we should all be grateful for, because again, it's not about who you choose to love, but accepting and understanding that other people have a choice and they should be able to live their lives as themselves. And we, in the pursuit of happiness, should be able to facilitate that for all Americans, despite sexual orientation, despite gender or ethnicity. I actually have a blank card here, so I'm going to toss this. I might doodle throughout the program, so I'm not going to throw that away. Couple things I want to touch on now. One major source of discussion for this page, for this video, for this format, is going to be Trump's own Twitter account. We can judge people by their own words, and I plan to start with directly content from the horse's mouth. So one thing that did catch my eye, I'm going to look at my phone briefly because I don't have like producers and everything. And I probably could have written down this tweet verbatim, but I'd rather read it off of the screen because that way I know it's accurate. Internet's kind of slow. Okay, I don't actually follow Donald Trump, so every time I want to look at his page to troll him, I have to type his name in. So again, bear with me. I also recommend that you don't follow this jackass. Let's see. Over the days, there have been a couple of different things to highlight on this page. One, his gross attacks of my Congressman John Lewis, and I'll come back to that, on MLK Day weekend. I mean, come on, that's just tasteless and crass, but that's neither here nor there. One note that was funny. This is Donald Trump's words. This was from this January actually January 18th at 5:21 p.m. Looking forward to a speedy recovery of George and Barbara Bush, both hospitalized. Thank you for your wonderful letter. I think it's really interesting that Poppy Bush played that old man card and played Donald Trump to the left. Because he was like, old POTUSes are really supposed to be at the inauguration. They're supposed to show up and do the whole honky-dory, we support them. Now, we know that Barbara Bush and George Bush Sr., George H.W. Bush, and also George W. Bush did not support Donald Trump in the election. I don't know that they all voted for Hillary Clinton, but they didn't support Donald Trump. And so it's interesting that George H.W. Bush and his wife, Barbara Bush, both played that old and sick card, the sick and shut-in card real nice, and just told Donald Trump, we ain't coming to your inauguration. We wish you well, but that's on you. And so kudos to that. That was shady on their part, and I love it. I love good shade, especially when it comes from the highest echelon of a former POTUS. I look forward to much shade from Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, and also Jimmy Carter might throw some shade, and also Barack and Michelle. I know Barack and Michelle are going to throw some shade over the next 8 years. So that's just something we have to look forward to. Trump's Twitter will be something that is constantly discussed. Over the weekend, I actually had the distinct joy of tweeting Mr. Trump and challenging him on his accusation that Atlanta was really just this cesspool and it really wasn't a good place to be. And we have to be able to defend our communities. We have to defend ourselves against this person. Again, this is our employee. He works for us. So we need to make sure that the decorum that he holds in that office is constantly being challenged. That one was a big Atlanta thing. There was a lot of talk. And we really just more than anything stood up for our Congressman John Lewis. And John Lewis is a champion of our community. He has been standing up for our rights for decades. And he's not going to stop anytime soon. Hope God willing. And I just want to thank John Lewis from the bottom of my heart for all of his contributions throughout the decades. Another breakout star of the resist movement, well, not breakout star, again, long-term champion, Representative Maxine Waters of California. She just is clearly geared up and ready to go. She is lockstep with this boycott of this inauguration, and I commend her and all the other brave souls who are speaking out, not only against the inauguration, because that's just one part of this, but also challenging and testifying at the hearings for the appointments for the cabinet positions for Donald Trump. I could go into that. That's a whole other thing. That will continue to unfold. Two completely unsuitable and categorically unqualified souls who are in the running are Betsy DeVoe, should be Belle Biv DeVoe because the chick is poison. She does not need to be the education secretary. We need to challenge that as best as we can. And also Jeff Sessions. I don't know where we are on these appointments, but those two are some of the most glaring and disgusting appointments so far, attempts. And we need to make sure that we are lifting up our brothers and sisters who are in the House and in the Senate who are working against those. So thank you. Kudos to Cory Booker for your testimony against Jeff Sessions. We appreciate that. And also Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Al Franken, kudos for your staunch challenging of Betsy Belle Biv DeVos to be the education secretary, who is clearly incompetent to serve in that position. I want to thank Bernie Sanders. You've given me a lot to talk about. There's some good things about you. There's some things I don't like about you. There are more things I don't like about people who like you. And I wish you did more to speak up against the bullying and the shaming that comes from your side of the political aisle. Maybe that's something we can look forward to progress in the coming years. I mean, yes, in the coming years. I want to thank wholeheartedly Hillary Rodham Clinton, Madam Secretary. You have just been a shining example of leadership, decorum, poise, grace under fire, elegance, humility, strength, beauty, courage, and you really don't get the credit you deserve. I have been transformed by your ascent and your attempt to become one of the saving graces of our country. I think your platform was really progressive. It was really something we could all be proud of. And I just want to thank you for everything that you've done, every decision that you made. I know people took time in the last 2 months to just criticize you. I don't know that we would expect anything else from our society. But despite all that, despite the white noise, I just really want to thank you for everything that you've done and everything that you've been to us, to the little girls out there, to the little boys out there, and some of the grown men who act like little boys who should have voted for you but didn't. So I appreciate everything that you've done. One good thing about this particular time is that we are seeing a cultural shift. And this is something that many of our black brothers and sisters rallied towards. A lot of them rejected Hillary Clinton and walked towards this time of confronting racism, confronting just bigotry at its forms. And so that's something we're going to have to face. One side of that is that right now a lot of black artists are standing united against Donald Trump, rejecting the inauguration that's happening this afternoon. And some have chosen not to do that. Jennifer Holliday, fabulous performer. I saw her in New York last year. She was wonderful. I would have had no problem if Jennifer Holliday performed at the inauguration. Ultimately, she chose not to. A lot of bullying was involved in that. We do not condone bullying, but she ultimately decided not to perform. Chrisette Michele instead has decided to perform. I think that is an interesting choice on behalf of Miss Michele. I do wish her well. I do wish that people who worked against the movement would not try to evoke Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King, at every step. It's kind of like, you can do what you choose, and that is your prerogative. You don't get to commandeer the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King on the week of his birthday to apply it to your own choices, however selfish they are. So let's be clear about that, Miss Michele. This is not that's not real, and you need to keep his name in your mouth on the week of his birthday if you're going to be singing and shucking and jiving for Donald Trump. That's not what we're doing here. Conversely, Waka Flocka Flame, Atlanta native, got to support the home team. And he, at his concert, recently called out a fan who was at his concert wearing a Donald Trump shirt, asked him to send the shirt up, took the shirt, wiped his bare ass with it on stage, and threw it on the ground and stomped on it. And if that is not the shiningest, most perfect, brilliant example of use of your First Amendment rights, I just want to kind of celebrate that young gentleman today for doing that, because that is a strong, forceful declaration. And it is one that says you should not be wanting to come to my place of business and appreciate my talent if you support someone like Donald Trump, who does not appreciate my place of business, who does not appreciate my contribution. And therefore, I'm going to show you. And he wasn't violent. In my view, it wasn't disrespectful. I'm sure he compensated the man for his shirt. If he didn't, I hope you will. But at the end of the day, he made a statement very clear within his platform, his arena, that says, I resist this. I reject what this man and this administration stands for. And I just want to celebrate that. I will close with this. I'm enjoying my black coffee, and devotees will understand the significance of that plug. The first pilot episode of Not on My Watch, by reminding us all to relax, relate, and resist. Thank you.
Too complex.